Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Prime Minister was asked a simple question: will Canadians expect to pay higher fuel prices with the carbon tax? And his response was a bit jarring. He said yes, and that's what Canadians expect because that is leadership. Well, Mr. Speaker, what the Prime Minister views as leadership is literally terrifying to widows and single moms across this country. But at the very least, they deserve to know one thing: how much will the carbon tax cost them?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are yet again demonstrating not just their tenuous relationship with the truth, but also with the understanding that we have to take concrete action on carbon. After 10 long years of the Harper Conservatives doing absolutely nothing on the environment, the same Conservatives show they just don't get it. We are putting a price on carbon pollution because it will reduce emissions and drive growth in the right direction at the same time. While Harper Conservatives believe that by making the economy and the environment work together, somehow Canada is broken, we will continue to invest in clean technology.
Honourable Member for Milton.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister and his lead ministers simply don't seem to understand. They're very much out of touch with the reality of what's happening and the gravity of the issue that we're speaking of. I remember the days, Mr. Speaker, and a lot of us do, about being able to put just $5 in the gas tank in order to get to my work at the Dairy Queen. And there are people like that today in my riding who experience that. This is a serious matter that's going to affect the affordability of life for many Canadians. His department knows how much it costs. Why won't he tell them?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We are putting in place practical, low-cost measures to tackle climate change and drive clean growth, including pricing pollution. It is clear that the Conservatives have no intention of taking climate change seriously and have no plan to promote clean growth in Canada. This is exactly the kind of inaction we saw in 10 years under Stephen Harper, who still very much apparently controls the backbench of the Conservative Party. And these Conservatives are no different.
Order. The Honourable Member for Central. Coast of Bay, Central Notre Dame will come to order. The Honourable Member for Milton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said that he wants to increase the carbon tax, he wants to put it on goods, because he believes that Canadians need to be told to make better choices. Basically, he's running on the no pain, no gain platform. But the reality is this, Mr. Speaker, we don't know how much the pain will be. Or is this just a real issue of the fact that it's all pain and no gain?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I suggest the honourable member actually talk to some of her colleagues from British Columbia, where they have had a price on carbon pollution for years and have among the strongest economic growth in the country. 85% of Canadians now live in jurisdictions where they put a price on carbon pollution, and Canadians understand that growing the economy at the same time as we protect the environment is the only way forward. The Harper Conservatives still demonstrate they don't get it. They're stuck in what they were doing for 10 years. Canadians had enough.
That's right. L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. And so, Mr. Speaker, this is what the Conservatives did for 10 years, and it comes from a document from the Department of Natural Resources. Greenhouse gas emissions went down by 2.2%, and the GDP went up by 16.9%. That's what the Conservatives did.
Ça fonctionne?
It's working? I'm sorry, I had trouble hearing the honourable member. The microphone here was open. It is now closed, and the member for Louis Saint Laurent has the floor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's with great pleasure I will repeat what I said, because it is the truth, and it comes from the Department of Natural Resources of Canada. The Conservative track record from 2005 to 2015 was lower greenhouse gas emissions by 2.2%, and the GDP went up by 16.9%. That's the Conservative track record. Greenhouse gas is down, and better economy, and we did it without the Liberal carbon tax. Why does the Prime Minister want to impose a new tax on Canadians? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, if these Conservatives want to lead another election campaign on the basis of how they did well during the Harper years, I invite them to do so. Canadians rejected Harper's approach, which had the worst track record for economic growth since the Great Depression, who could not create the energy projects and get them to new markets. Those all failed. They did not deliver to Canadians what they needed to. Canadians made a choice, and they rejected Harper and his Conservatives. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, I think the Prime Minister made his choice. He's setting aside the truth and facts. We lowered greenhouse gas emissions and improved the economy. The facts are that the Prime Minister has in his hands, as part of the Council of Ministers, he has a document that indicates how much more it's going to cost Canadian families to implement the Liberal carbon tax. Can the Prime Minister be honest with Canadians and table this document so that Canadians know exactly how much the Liberal carbon tax will cost them? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, to make things clear, economic growth that occurred during the Harper years was the worst since the Great Depression among all Canadian Prime Ministers. For 2.5 years, by investing more money into the middle class, by investing in infrastructure, by demonstrating that leadership in the environment and the economy go together, we have the best track record for growth among G7 countries last year. And we are creating 600,000 new jobs. That is our track record, and that's what Canadians chose.